Cheers and welcome to Irondale Brewing. We're here today to taste the green tea blonde ale. This is my second attempt at getting green tea into a beer in a way that I think works. This one didn't quite work how I wanted it to, but that's part of fun of brewing, right? Just experimenting with stuff and see kind of how things go. And I'm going to talk a little bit about one thing I know for sure went a little bit sideways, and then kind of a mindset for brewing, if you will, that I think is probably helpful, at least for me. I know it's going to be because I think I got a little bit ahead of myself, but we'll talk about that in a second. So in terms of the beer, this was an extract batch with specialty grains that is Drew Beecham and Denny Kahn's Lazy Day Blonde Ale, and I'll put a link in the description. And basically, it's a pretty, it's just meant to be a super quick and easy blonde ale that's easy to drink, good summer beer, etc. I had not made it before, and that's one thing I'll talk about at the end that I think I probably need to think about a little bit differently. But what I did is I did a hop stand, in quotes, with 2 ounces of loose leaf green tea at 175 for 3 minutes, kind of after the boil as things were cooling down. And then I dry hopped with 2 more ounces of loose leaf green tea for a week. And this was in a 2.5 gallon batch, so adjust accordingly. And overall, I think it came out okay. So let's just talk about the beer. I would hope in a blonde ale it would be lighter than this, but extract beers in general can be a little bit darker. That's one of the reasons that you, or at least a lot of people, and I did in this case, you don't boil all the extract. You want to put in, kind of later is better, because that can impact the color. Certainly with liquid malt extract, which I don't tend to use because I prefer dry in terms of the results. I would hope it'd be a little bit lighter, but it's not bad. It's a little bit hazy. I didn't add any, clarifying agents or anything except whirl flock at the end of the boil as per usual. But, it's a decent beer color, because I'd say not exactly golden, dark straw, beigey. The head retention is good. This had been sitting there for a while before I started recording, because I took a couple of runs at the beginning. And head retention's good. The head it's very pillowy. And it's sticking around, and it's a nice kind of like off-white color. So happy there. Let's talk about the aroma. So, it smells kind of generally like beer. I don't know that I get green tea aroma out of it. Definitely something a little fruity, which I guess could be, could be attributed to the tea. Yeah, fruit. I'd say fruity malty is kind of the major thing I get on the nose. All right, let's give it a taste. So yeah, it's not bad. Definitely get some tea in there. I think the problem is that in this case it's too hoppy to balance out the tea. Shouldn't be very hoppy, but the reason it came out too hoppy, I think, is because so hop utilization is dependent upon your boil gravity. So if I'm making an extract batch and I only put half the extract in, that is only half the gravity of the beer. If I put the full hop amount in, the utilization is going to be higher, therefore a little hoppier than I would have liked it to be and than I intended. So the main flavor I get out of this, I think, is from the hops, and these are Magnum hops. That's thought of as a pretty generic bittering hop, but it does have some citrus notes to it, and that's kind of the main thing I get, particularly in the finish on this, is the hop bitter citrus thing going on. But a little bit of tea in the body. The mouthfeel is actually pretty nice. It's pretty smooth. I just think the finish kind of throws it off because it's a little bit too bitter and not the flavor profile I would have hoped for. But all in all, not bad. There's also a little bit of minerality to it that I think is probably, I'm going to revisit, kind of the water additions with extract brewing in general. I don't do, I'd say maybe I do about 10% extract batches. And there's a little bit of salty, minerally flavor to it that is not great. I mean, I don't know. I'm being super nitpicky here. It's a decent beer. And so I think just to talk in general about mindset, I think two things went wrong here. One is I had never brewed the base recipe for this beer before, so I don't know what it tastes like on its own. Um, and I do think that even absent the green tea aspect, I should talk about this just for a second. I don't think the finish I'm getting that you could even say is a little bit astringent. I don't think that's coming from the tea because the tea was all except um, the tea I put in the hot side as a hop stand for exactly 3 minutes. I don't think that the tea it would impart any astringency to it from dry hopping because it was at 68 degrees. So I don't think. I mean, I'd have to look into that and see. Maybe I'll just stick a bag of green tea in room temperature water for a day or something and see what that tastes like. I don't think that would be a contributing factor here, but I don't know what the base beer tastes like on its own. So that's number one. Um, and I think, and then number two is the water additions for extract. I'm going to revisit that, and maybe the next time I do an extract batch, which I don't even have on my brewing schedule at this point, just add nothing. Just use reverse osmosis water or spring water. Forget about the additions and just see what a generic extract batch on its own tastes like with nothing. Um, I do think I've made a couple extract batches, and if you do a little bit of water additions and can kind of brighten things up a little bit, add a little bit of something you don't get otherwise. But I don't think I know enough about what it tastes like with my current setup with nothing added to know what I would need to add to get the enhancements I would like. And that goes for the recipe too. So I think I'm playing with too many variables here is what I'm getting at. I don't know what the base of the recipe tastes like on its own. I just figured, hey, generic blonde ale, throw some green tea in there and see what happens. But now that I am tasting the end result and I want to change some things, there's too many things. There's too many unknowns for me to know what needs to be tweaked, if that makes sense. So that's kind of a general realization I had that I'm sure, maybe is something I have to be reminded of periodically is you need a baseline in order to kind of do enhancements. And I didn't have a baseline here or in the original recipe that I did with the cream ale. So I think what I'm going to do is I have the next beer I'm going to brew, depending on my schedule, is a Kolsch that I'm calling Redemption Kolsch, I think, because my last batch of Kolsch went, if you watch that video, went awry. So I got the ingredients to take another run at that and do it hopefully right this time. Kolsch, it just happens to be, I think, a decent beer for tea additions also, but I'm not going to add the tea in the same way I've done the last two batches that I've tried this. I'm going to make the Kolsch. I'm going to get the Kolsch through to kegging. I'm going to taste the Kolsch, and I'm going to understand what that beer tastes like on its own. And then I think what I'm going to do, and I think what I'm probably going to do when the batch is done, is split it into two 1 gallon kegs because I'll probably do 2.5 gallon batch. So I'll split it into two smaller kegs. And then once I know what the Kolsch tastes like on its own, I think I'm just going to brew some green tea and add it to one of the kegs and get a sense of what that's like. Just as a basic, knowing what the beer tastes like on its own and then seeing what it tastes like to add some green tea. Not the same way I might do it. Although after trying this a couple times, I'm like, I think maybe just adding some cold brewed green tea, pretty concentrated at packaging time is another thing that's worth trying. So anyway, that's the green tea blonde ale. Not a bad beer. Not what I would have liked to get out of this beer. And I just wanted to, A, do the tasting and B, share kind of like where my brain went when I got to the end of this. I'm like, I think I'm just trying to deal with too many things all at once, and I need to go back to a baseline and then figure out how to do the tea thing, and that will be a quicker route to get me to where I think I want to go with a green tea beer, which I think I will keep trying until I get it done right. So anyway, that's the green tea beer, blonde ale specifically. Cheers again, and thanks for watching. And I think the next one that I'll probably do is, I think, the Flash Brewing Citra Session Pale Ale. Has about another couple of days before I cold crash it. And so in another couple of weeks, probably we'll do a tasting of the Flash Brewing Kit, which will be interesting to see how that came out. Cheers all. Thanks.